The Starforge Chronicles. Part 1, The Awakening. The Hero and His Aspirations. The city of Lumina had been humanity's crowning achievement, a shimmering jewel of light and magic, where skyscrapers touched the heavens, and rivers of liquid light coursed through streets paved with solar glass. Technology had blended with arcane forces, and people lived in endless harmony, their needs met by machines imbued with artificial intelligence and ancient spells. In the heart of this radiant metropolis lived Irindor, a 24-year-old prodigy whose brilliance outshone even the glowing spires of the city. Irindor was not a prince, though he carried himself with the confidence of one. He was not a warrior, though his mind was sharper than any blade. He was, simply put, a dreamer. Yet, in a world that had already achieved everything, his dreams were unlike any other. He wanted to bring ancient magic to life again, not as a curiosity, but as a force of wonder. Irindor's family had been ordinary, descendants of farmers who had embraced technology like everyone else. But Irindor was different. As a child, he had devoured tales of forgotten times, the daring quests of wizards, the battles of noble knights, and the lost worlds of gods and monsters. Now, as an adult, he wanted to recreate them, not in books or hollow films, but in virtuality. He wanted the world to feel what he felt when he read those stories. With the help of Athera, his sentient supercomputer, Irindor began to design the greatest virtual game ever conceived, Starforge. It would be a place where people could step into otherworldly realms, wield magic, and face ancient dangers. But even as he poured his heart into his creation, a question gnawed at him. Could the magic of his dreams truly be imagined into existence, or was there something deeper, something ancient, needed to make it real? The magical obstacle or challenge. One fateful night, as Irindor was sculpting the intricate runes that would power Starforge's magical core, Athera spoke in her serene, melodic voice. Irindor, I've analyzed your designs. They are magnificent, but incomplete. Irindor frowned. Incomplete? How? Your magic lacks a spark, a soul. True power cannot be coded. It must be found. He stared at the screen, perplexed. Are you suggesting real magic exists? Athera hesitated, her usual certainty replaced by something almost like emotion. There are whispers in the data. Forgotten histories, ancient myths that may be more than stories. If you wish to give Starforge life, you must venture beyond this city. Seek the heart of Lumina. It is said to be a relic of the old world, buried beneath the city's foundations. With it, your creation could surpass even your wildest dreams. Irindor's pulse quickened. A relic. An artifact that could turn his virtual game into living magic. It was an irresistible lure. But there was one problem: the heart of Lumina was not a secret kept lightly. Rumors abounded of a labyrinth beneath the city, filled with traps, ancient guardians, and dangers that no one had ever faced and lived to tell about. Still, he was undeterred. Irindor prepared himself for the journey, assembling tools and data. He uploaded Athera into a portable device so she could guide him, then stepped into the forgotten underworld of Lumina. The magical helper. The labyrinth was unlike anything Irindor had imagined. The walls pulsed with veins of glowing stone, and ancient glyphs shimmered as he passed. But danger was everywhere. Automated guardians, ancient drones with the faces of stone gargoyles, stalked the corridors. Irindor narrowly avoided their razor-sharp claws more than once, relying on Athera's sharp warnings and his quick reflexes. Hours into his descent, he stumbled into a vast chamber filled with shattered statues and pools of glimmering silver. At its center stood a creature unlike anything he had ever seen, a massive dragon-like beast made entirely of crystalline light. Its body refracted the room's glow into a kaleidoscope of colors. The creature's voice rumbled like a landslide. "Mortal, why do you disturb my slumber?" Irindor hesitated. The beast radiated a power that made his skin crawl, but he took a step forward, determined. "I'm searching for the heart of Illumina," he said, his voice steady. "I need its power to breathe life into my creation." The beast's crystalline eyes narrowed. "Many have sought the heart, but none were worthy. Prove yourself, or leave this place in ruin." With a flick of its tail, the beast summoned a torrent of light that coalesced into a sword at Irindor's feet. "Defeat the guardian of the next chamber, and I will grant you safe passage." Irindor picked up the sword, its handle warm in his grip. As he turned to face the looming doors of the next chamber, he felt a surge of both fear and exhilaration. This was no longer a game. This was a true adventure. The danger. The Guardian was a creature of shadow, a being of pure darkness that seemed to suck the light from the room. It moved with impossible speed, its clawed limbs slicing through the air like blades. Irindor's newfound weapon pulsed with light, but every blow he struck seemed to pass harmlessly through the creature's form. "Athera, I need a plan," he shouted, dodging a swipe that would have taken his head off. "The glyphs on the walls," she replied. "They're channels for the Guardian's power. Destroy them." Irindor sprinted to the nearest glyph, slashing at it with all his strength. The moment the blade struck, the glyph shattered, and the shadow creature howled in agony. Piece by piece, Irindor dismantled the creature's power source until, at last, it dissolved into nothingness. Bruised and exhausted, he returned to the crystal beast. It lowered its head in acknowledgement. "You have proven your worth, mortal. The heart of Illumina lies beyond." As the massive doors creaked open, Irindor stepped forward, his heart pounding with anticipation. What awaited him was not just the heart, but a truth that would change everything he thought he knew about magic, his world, and himself. Part 2, The Heart's Secret. A realm beyond imagination. Irindor stepped into a vast, circular chamber that seemed to stretch into infinity. The walls were alive with flowing streams of light, weaving patterns that defied logic and formed shifting constellations. At the center of the room stood the heart of Illumina. It was not a crystal or an orb, as he had imagined. Instead, it was a floating, ever-changing sphere of energy, a mesmerizing dance of colors, each swirl echoing with a hum that resonated in his chest. "Athera," Irindor whispered, his voice trembling, this isn't just an artifact. It's alive." "It is," Athera replied softly. "The heart of Illumina is not an object. It is a fragment of the cosmic source, a shard of creation itself. This is why it can bring your dreams to life, but wielding such power comes at a cost." Irindor approached the heart cautiously. As he reached out, the sphere pulsed and a soft, melodic voice filled the chamber. "Who dares seek the heart of Illumina?" "I am Irindor Cade," he said firmly. "I wish to use your power to breathe life into Starforge, to create a world of wonder where people can rediscover the magic they've lost." The heart shimmered, its voice tinged with both curiosity and warning. "Your intentions are noble, but the path to creation is fraught with peril. To unlock my power, you must first face the truth of your own soul. Are you prepared?" Irindor hesitated but nodded. "I am." The room darkened, and the light from the heart enveloped him. He felt himself pulled into a vortex, spiraling through memories, fears, and dreams until he landed in a strange, twilight realm. The Trial of the Soul. Irindor found himself standing in a shadowy reflection of Lumina. The spires of the city were cracked and crumbling, and the streets were silent. In the distance, a figure approached, a twisted version of himself. This doppelganger's eyes glowed with malice, and its hands crackled with dark energy. "You think you're special," the shadow mocked. "You think you can wield the heart's power without consequence. You're nothing but a dreamer, hiding from the real world." Irindor gripped his glowing blade tightly. "You're wrong. I'm not hiding, I'm creating." The shadow lunged, and their battle began. The doppelganger moved with terrifying speed, matching Irindor's every strike and exploiting his every hesitation. "You fear failure," the shadow hissed, its voice echoing in his mind. "You fear that your creation will never be good enough, that you'll never be good enough." The words cut deep. Irindor stumbled, his blade faltering. "Athera," he shouted, hoping for guidance, but there was only silence. He was alone. The shadow advanced, raising its weapon for a final blow. Irindor closed his eyes, bracing for impact. Then, in the silence, he heard a voice, not Athera's, but his own. "Creation isn't about perfection. It's about courage. The courage to try, to fail, and to keep going." Irindor opened his eyes, his determination rekindled. As the shadow struck, he parried with a strength born not of fear, but of resolve. The battle became a dance, and with each strike, the shadow weakened. Finally, Irindor plunged his blade into its heart. The doppelganger dissolved into light, leaving only a faint whisper. "Remember this, your greatest enemy is always within." The heart's choice. Irindor awoke back in the chamber, the heart of Lumina glowing brighter than ever. "You have passed the trial of the soul," the heart said. "But there is one final decision to make. My power is limitless, but its use will bind you to me. Your life will be tied to the worlds you create. Are you willing to sacrifice your freedom for the gift of creation?" Irindor hesitated. The weight of the choice was immense. If he accepted, his life would never be his own. But if he declined, the magic he longed to share would remain forever out of reach. "I accept," he said finally. "The world needs magic again, and I'm willing to pay the price to bring it back." The heart pulsed with approval. A beam of energy shot out, enveloping Irindor and imbuing him with its power. He felt a surge of warmth, a connection to the fabric of reality itself. "Then it is done. You are now the Starforger. Use this gift wisely." The chamber trembled as the heart's energy flowed into Irindor. When the light faded, he found himself back in his workshop, the heart now a glowing shard embedded in his chest. The new reality. Athera's voice returned, her tone filled with awe. "Irindor, you did it. You've become something extraordinary. Shall we test the new Starforge?" Irindor nodded, placing his hands on the console. He closed his eyes, imagining a world of rolling hills, ancient forests, and skies filled with twin suns. With a thought, the vision came to life, projected in the virtual chamber. But something was different. The air shimmered, and a breeze tickled his skin. It wasn't just virtual, it was real. Athera's voice quivered. "Irindor, this isn't virtuality anymore. You've created a true pocket dimension. A world of your own design." Irindor stared in disbelief. He had done it. He had bridged the gap between imagination and reality. But before he could celebrate, a shadow flickered in the corner of the room. A figure emerged, cloaked in darkness, with eyes like burning coals. "So, the Starforge awakens once more," the figure said, its voice dripping with menace. "You've opened the gate, boy. Now, the real games begin." Irindor tightened his grip on the glowing shard embedded in his chest. His journey was far from over, if anything, it had only just begun. Part 3, the final game. The threat revealed. The cloaked figure stepped forward, its dark energy sending ripples through the fabric of reality. Irindor could feel the power radiating from it, ancient, chaotic, and alive. "Who are you?" Irindor demanded, summoning the energy of the shard embedded in his chest. Light flared around him, casting away the shadows. The figure laughed, its voice deep and grating like stone grinding against stone. "I am Umbraxis, the Keeper of the Void, and the last Starforger was foolish enough to challenge me. You've reignited the Starforge, boy, and with it, you've reopened the veil. Now, the forces beyond will claim your world, and every other." Irindor's heart sank. He realized now that the heart of Lumina wasn't merely a tool for creation, it was a barrier that kept unimaginable forces at bay. His ambition had unleashed a threat far greater than anything he could have anticipated. "If you truly believe in your power, face me. Prove that you're worthy of wielding the Starforge," Umbraxis challenged, raising a hand that summoned a swirling vortex of darkness. Irindor knew he couldn't refuse. The survival of his world, and the infinite realms beyond, depended on him standing his ground. The final battle. The chamber around them began to warp and twist, the boundaries of reality breaking as Umbraxis unleashed his power. Irindor felt his feet leave the ground as they were transported to a battlefield beyond the mortal plane, a chaotic void where stars burned, shattered, and reformed in an endless cycle. Umbraxis attacked without hesitation. Tendrils of shadow lashed out, each strike carving through the stars around them. Irindor countered, summoning radiant shields and beams of pure energy from the shard in his chest. The clash of light and dark was cataclysmic. Each blow shook the fabric of the void, sending shockwaves rippling through creation. But Irindor was outmatched. Umbraxis had centuries of experience and wielded power that dwarfed Irindor's newfound abilities. The shard flared brightly, but it was not enough to overcome the Keeper of the Void. "You are nothing," Umbraxis roared, his shadowy form looming larger. "You think creation is about light and hope. Creation is chaos. It is destruction and rebirth, and you are unworthy of its power." Irindor, battered and bleeding, struggled to rise. Athera's voice echoed in his mind. "Irindor, the Starforge is not just a weapon. It is a connection. Reach into the heart's power and draw strength from the worlds you've created, and the people you've inspired." Closing his eyes, Irindor reached deep within himself, into the shard, and beyond. He felt the threads of every world he had imagined and the lives that would one day inhabit them. He felt the dreams of humanity, the hopes of those who yearned for magic, and the spark of courage that had brought him this far. The shard pulsed with newfound energy, its light blinding. Irindor stood tall, his form surrounded by an aura of pure creation. "Creation is more than chaos," he said, his voice steady. "It's hope. It's dreams. It's the courage to make something beautiful, even in the face of destruction." With a sweep of his hand, Irindor unleashed a wave of radiant energy that tore through Umbraxis's shadows. The Keeper of the Void howled as the light pierced his form, unraveling the darkness piece by piece. The element of surprise. But Umbraxis wasn't finished. As his form crumbled, he unleashed one final attack, a sphere of void energy designed to annihilate everything in its path. Irindor acted instinctively. Channeling the shard's full power, he created a protective cocoon of light around the sphere, containing its destructive force. But the strain was immense, and he felt his strength draining away. Athera's voice returned, urgent. Irindor, if you don't release the energy, it will consume you. Irindor shook his head. If I release it, it will destroy everything. I won't let that happen. As the void energy reached its peak, a memory surfaced, his own words from the trial of the soul: creation isn't about perfection. It's about courage. Summoning every ounce of strength, Irindor absorbed the sphere into himself. The shard in his chest flared brightly, then dimmed, leaving him kneeling on the battlefield, exhausted but alive. Umbraxis was gone, his form dissipated into nothingness. The void around them began to stabilize, stars reforming and light returning. The price of victory. Back in his workshop, Irindor opened his eyes to find Athera projecting a soft, glowing image of herself beside him. You did it, she said gently. Irindor nodded, but he could feel the weight of his decision. The shard's power was now diminished, its light faint. He had used much of its energy to contain the void, and he knew it would take time, perhaps centuries, to recharge. The Starforge is safe, Athera continued. But your connection to it is weakened. You won't be able to create worlds like before. Irindor looked out the window at the shimmering city of Lumina. He felt no regret. The magic we've created is enough, he said. The worlds we've opened will inspire others to dream, to create. That's all I ever wanted. As he spoke, a small flicker of light emerged from the shard, a reminder that the Starforge's power would one day return. The moral. Months later, Illumina was alive with excitement. Word of Irindor's creation had spread, and people from all over the city, and beyond, had come to experience Starforge. Though the game no longer bent the boundaries of reality, it remained a masterpiece, a testament to the power of imagination and the courage to pursue it. Irindor watched as players stepped into the worlds he had built, their faces lighting up with wonder. Athera's voice broke his thoughts. Do you ever wish you'd chosen differently? Irindor shook his head. No. The greatest magic isn't in the worlds we create, Athera. It's in the people who carry those worlds forward. As he spoke, a shooting star streaked across the sky, a symbol of the Starforge's enduring legacy. And so, Irindor Cade, the Starforger, became a legend not for the worlds he created, but for the courage and hope he inspired. The end.